Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. This time, we're taking a trip down to Orlando, Florida,
Oh, nice.
where an interesting partnership is going on
Like,
that is trying to address homelessness.
all right.
We've got a bunch of websites, some internal documents,
Yeah.
all sorts of intel on the Family Network,
Okay.
and their for-profit branch Strategics Growth Solutions,
Uh,
and then their associated nonprofit
Okay.
Family Support Network,
Yep.
FSN.
Interesting.
I'm excited to kind of dig in and see
Yeah.
how they're trying to tackle this complex problem.
Absolutely. And I think what's so fascinating about this model is that
Yeah.
it's not the traditional reliance on grants and donations.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
weaving together a for-profit
Right.
venture with this really compassionate
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit mission.
Okay. So let's start with that nonprofit
Go.
Family Support Network.
Okay.
Their mission statement anyway, says that they're
Right.
trying to turn chronic homelessness into a transient state.
Okay. But we're talking almost 10,000 homeless students
Wow.
in the Orlando School District alone.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a pretty big challenge.
It really does. It shows you the scope of the problem. And
Yeah.
when you look at the numbers, kids sharing housing, living in hotels, shelters, cars,
Right.
it paints a pretty stark picture of the
Yeah.
human impact of this.
And it's not just about, like you said, it's not just about a lack of housing.
Right.
It's about escaping domestic violence, navigating foster care. There's
Yeah.
a whole web of things. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And these are families often with young children
Yeah.
that are going through this. And that's why I think
Yeah.
FSN's origin story is even more compelling. It's rooted in the founders' own experiences,
Yeah.
their reliance on their, quote, family to get through tough times.
Yeah.
I think that's...
It makes you wonder if that's what drove them to
Yeah.
this innovative approach, right?
Totally. So that's kind of the heart of the mission.
But this is where I think things get really interesting.
Yeah.
They have this parent organization, the Family Network, and it's a for-profit social enterprise.
Okay.
How does that even work?
So that's where the venture studio model comes in, or VSM.
Okay.
Think of it as a startup incubator.
Okay.
But they don't just launch successful businesses.
Right.
They channel 40%
Wow.
of the annual net profit
40%.
from these ventures.
That's a huge chunk.
Right.
Most corporate giving programs are nothing like that.
Yeah. They're putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, but how can that really provide sustainable funding for something
Yeah.
as complex as tackling homelessness,
Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
This could be the way to free FSN
Right.
from that constant fundraising grind,
Yeah.
allowing them to focus on program development
Yeah.
and really having an impact.
Right.
But the other side of that is if the ventures aren't successful,
Right.
the funding dries up.
Right. So high risk, high reward potentially.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the engine behind all of this.
Okay.
Strategics Growth Solutions.
Right.
The for-profit subsidiary,
Right.
they're generating the revenue,
Mm-hmm.
offering bookkeeping, financial consulting,
Interesting.
even student advisory.
Yeah.
It's an eclectic mix.
It is. It's what makes it so intriguing.
What's the connection there?
Well, the bookkeeping and consulting makes sense,
Yeah.
supporting businesses, the local economy.
Right.
But this student advisory piece,
Yeah.
that's where I think they might be playing the long game.
Okay, how so?
Well, if you give young people financial literacy
Right.
and leadership skills,
Yeah.
they might be less likely to experience the kind of hardships that lead to homelessness.
Oh, so they're trying to get ahead of it,
Exactly, addressing the root of the problem.
not just treating the symptoms.
Exactly.
So it's not just about providing relief.
Right.
It's about empowering future generations.
Yeah, breaking that cycle
To break the cycle.
of poverty.
Yeah, so a much more holistic approach.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder if this model could be applied to other
Yeah,
social issues as well,
it's a good question.
like healthcare access,
Right.
educational inequity,
Yeah.
food insecurity.
It's almost like they're trying to make it so that doing good business, IS doing good in
Mhm.
the community,
Right.
and potentially preventing problems down the line.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
Okay.
let's take a closer look at how this partnership actually works in practice.
Yeah, let's do that.
We've talked about this VSM, this venture studio model,
Right.
incubating businesses and sending the profits to FSN.
Yeah.
But what does that actually look like as far as support goes?
Okay.
Is it just like a one-time donation?
It's actually much more involved
Okay.
than just a donation.
Okay.
The Family Network provides a lot of operational support to FSN.
Okay.
Things like marketing, admin tasks. They even share facilities and resources.
Yeah.
Think about how much that helps the nonprofit
Yeah.
to be able to focus on their program.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
It's not just about the money, it's about making sure they can
exactly.
be as effective as possible.
Efficiency and impact.
Right, but I'm curious about
Yeah.
the governance structure.
Okay.
They have separate boards, but overlapping members,
Right.
joint committees. Does that ever get kind of complicated?
It could.
Yeah.
But they seem really committed to transparency and communication.
Okay.
From what I've gathered, these committees have members from both organizations.
Okay.
And they tackle things like fundraising, strategic planning,
Right.
even community engagement.
So everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, making sure everyone's working towards the same goal.
It's like a checks and balances kind of thing.
Right.
To make sure nothing gets too far off track.
Exactly.
Really interesting. And they've done a good job with the brand alignment, too.
Yeah, they've been smart about that.
Presenting FSN as like the philanthropic arm of TFN really makes it clear to the public. Right. You support a TFN business.
Yeah.
You know where your money's going.
It's a good way to get people involved who want to...
Right. Make a difference
Yeah.
with their spending.
Okay, back to strategics for a second.
Okay.
We talked about their student advisory program,
Right.
how that might help prevent homelessness down the road, but I'm still not totally clear
Okay.
on what that actually looks like.
All right.
Is there anything more specific on their website?
There is, they call it, empowering the next generation of leaders.
Okay.
And it's all about helping students clarify their vision,
Okay.
develop practical skills,
Right.
bridging that gap between traditional education and real-world readiness.
But what does that actually mean, though?
Yeah.
What kind of practical skills are we talking about? Budgeting, investing? Is it like a financial literacy course?
It seems like it's more than just basic financial literacy.
Okay.
They talk about interactive experiences.
Advanced tools, they connect students with mentors and entrepreneurs.
Oh, okay.
So it sounds like they're trying to give a broader understanding
Right.
of financial well-being,
Right, yeah.
decision-making, even leadership.
It's giving them the tools and mindset to be able to
Exactly.
face whatever challenges life throws at them.
Yeah, potentially avoiding those pitfalls.
Right.
That
Yeah.
can lead to financial instability.
And in some cases, homelessness.
Exactly. And if we think back to those statistics about the root causes,
Right.
domestic violence,
Yeah.
aging out of foster care,
Yeah.
imagine if those people had these skills early on.
It's a preventative approach.
Yeah.
Trying to stop the problem before it starts.
Exactly.
But is this really scalable? I mean, could this model work
Right.
in other cities
Yeah.
with different social problems?
It's a good question.
It seems like it depends on the success of these for-profit businesses.
Right.
What happens if they fail?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
The Framley Network is a bold experiment, but it opens up some really interesting possibilities.
Like what?
Imagine if every business had this social impact arm,
Right?
where making a profit also meant solving community problems.
It's a nice idea.
It is, but I'm sure there are challenges.
Yeah, what are some of those?
Balancing profit and purpose.
Right, you can't just
Terrific.
completely ignore one or the other.
What about mission drift?
Right, or even conflicts of interest.
Yeah, between the for-profit and the nonprofit side.
You're hitting on some important points there.
Yeah.
It seems like they need to be very careful about looking sure they're actually having the impact they want to have.
Transparency is key.
Right, and they need to be open about how they're doing things.
Absolutely.
And that shared governance, that's really going to be key.
Right, those overlapping boards.
Yeah, in keeping things running smoothly.
Exactly.
This makes me think about the Memorandum of Understanding
Oh, yeah.
between TFN and FSN.
Right.
That document probably tells us more about the legal and operational side of things.
It should give us the details.
Yeah, should we take a look?
Yeah, let's dive in.
All right, I've got the Memorandum of Understanding here between the Framley Network and Family Support Network.
Okay.
It's dated January 1st, 2025.
Oh, wow. So it's,
Wait,
this is brand new.
Yeah, this is where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly. Lays out the framework, the nuts and bolts.
Let's get into it. Let's talk about the money first.
Right.
We know it's 40% of TFN's annual net profits go to FSN,
Right.
but how does that actually work?
Yeah.
Logistically.
So they actually address that specifically in the MOU.
Okay.
The funds are transferred quarterly
Okay.
by the 15th of the month after each quarter ends.
So it's not just like a...
Yeah, so a nice steady
Yeah.
stream of income.
That's got to be huge for a nonprofit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Feel more like
Glad-
last-minute fundraising.
Exactly.
They can actually plan for the future.
Exactly. Long-term planning, stability, knowing that that support's coming in.
And it's not just about the money either.
Right.
The MOU talks about TFN's commitment to operational support.
Yeah, all those support functions.
Like the marketing and financial management.
Exactly.
Even access to shared resources.
Right. Things that a lot of nonprofits struggle with.
So TFN is basically providing the infrastructure that a lot of these nonprofits just can't afford.
Yeah, freeing them up to focus on.
Yeah, actually running the programs
Exactly.
that help people.
Precisely. But it's not a one-way street.
Right.
The MOU also says that FSN's programs have to align with the overall mission.
Right. So they're not just
So working together.
doing their own thing.
Yeah, to maximize the impact.
And that goes back to those joint committees
Exactly.
we were talking about earlier.
Representation from both sides, making decisions together.
The MOU actually outlines those responsibilities, right?
It does.
Like the fundraising and the strategic planning.
Community engagement.
Yeah, they really thought this through.
They have. It's impressive.
Yeah.
They're not just throwing money at the problem.
All right.
They created a system.
That's designed to be sustainable.
And impactful.
And transparent.
Yes, absolutely.
This isn't some secret document.
Right.
This is a public MOU.
They're being open about how it all works.
Yeah, they're holding themselves accountable.
Exactly.
You know, I was thinking about our listeners who might be thinking, could this work outside of Orlando?
Right.
And I think this MOU actually offers some really good insights.
I think so, too. It's almost like a blueprint for other cities or other businesses tackling different issues.
We started this deep dive wanting to know how the Framley Network is tackling homelessness in this new way.
Yeah.
And I think we found our answer.
We did. And maybe even more than that.
What do you mean?
They've shown a new way to combine profit and purpose.
Yeah, it's not just charity.
It's about making a real impact.
So what does this mean for everyone listening?
That's a good question.
Maybe it's supporting businesses that are doing good.
Right.
Maybe it's looking at how you can be more philanthropic.
Yeah, in your own work.
The Framley Network is a great example.
They are, but they're not the only ones.
Yeah, what about in your own community?
Exactly. Look around.
Are there businesses doing good work?
Are there nonprofits tackling things that you care about?
How can you get involved?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Trying to make the world a better place.
A more just world, a more equitable world.
Exactly.
And maybe even making chronic homelessness a thing of the past.
That's the goal.